BP grasps at straws to retrieve oil from the massive Gulf blowout. Can star power propel a new technology for the oil industry? We'll tell you what Kevin Costner is backing now. And the Gulf oil spill has not stopped efforts to drill in Arctic waters as Shell wins a court victory.
From the Energy News Center in Washington, D.C., this is the Energy Report with Susan McGinnis.
And I'm not going to rest or be satisfied until the leak is stopped at the source, the oil in the Gulf is contained and cleaned up, and the people of the Gulf are able to go back to their lives and their livelihoods.
President Obama today pledging to get to the bottom of just what caused the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Good afternoon, I'm Susan McGinnis. Thanks for joining us for the Energy Report. The president lashed out today at oil industry officials, saying he shared the anger and frustration felt by many Americans.
I have to say, though, I did not appreciate what I considered to be a ridiculous spectacle during the congressional hearings into this matter. You had executives of BP and Transocean and Halliburton falling over each other to point the finger of blame at somebody else. The American people could not have been impressed with that display, and I certainly wasn't. For too long, for a decade or more, there's been a cozy relationship between the oil companies and the federal agency that permits them to drill. It seems as if permits were too often issued based on little more than assurances of safety from the oil companies. That cannot and will not happen anymore.
Well, just how much oil is gushing into the Gulf each day? Scientists looking at this video say the oil spill is bigger than BP and the government are letting on. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, calculates the leak at just more than 200,000 gallons a day. Others see a broken well easily gushing at a rate of 4 or 5 times that. BP says it's focused on stopping the leak, not measuring it.
Response ever done, and it's not related to whether it's 5,000 barrels a day or a different number.
Well, today undersea robots are trying to thread a tube into the pipe gushing oil. If it works, that tube will suck oil like a straw onto a surface ship. If it doesn't work, engineers will try to use a smaller containment box already on the sea floor. They'll position it over the main leak to trap the oil and funnel it to the surface. Well, we asked Robert Bryce, he's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and that is a right-leaning think tank, what he sees as the impact of the Gulf disaster on drilling.
Well, first, I live in Texas, and I vacation in the Gulf, so I swim, I fish, I bird watch. I hate this. I mean, it's terrible what's happening, and I think the environmental effects are obviously going to be significant. What they are, ultimately, we don't know. But what I fear is that this spill is extreme. It's a spill of extremes, extremes in water depth, extremes in pressure, extremes in cost. I fear that the political response will be extreme, which will be to dramatically limit offshore drilling in the U.S. What will that mean? I think it will ultimately mean a reduction in U.S. oil production, which will mean more oil imports, which is, we're well aware, that's the bogeyman in American politics. Foreign oil is bad, but I think that clearly the politics now are pointing toward that as being inevitable.
Yeah. Well, Bryce is also author of a new book. It's called Power Hungry: The Myths of Green Energy and the Real Fuels of the Future. He says the Manhattan Institute does get a small amount of funding from energy interests. Well, you may remember him from the movie Waterworld, where he battled evil villain Dennis Hopper, captain of a post-apocalyptic Exxon Valdez. Well, now Kevin Costner is in Louisiana, hoping to help clean up Gulf oil with his fame and his wallet. For 15 years, he's helped finance an effort to design a giant centrifuge of sorts that separates oil from water. A team of scientists and engineers from Ocean Therapy Solutions say this machine can make water up to 95% oil-free at up to 200 gallons a minute. It's a lot more than 50 gallons faster than what the leaking wellhead is said to be spewing every day. Costner is meeting with government and industry officials.
Rather than defense, we're going to start to play offense, and we're going to start to get the oil.
Louisiana parish leaders are anxious to get the machines into the water to see if they work. Costner's team says they have 20 machines ready to go and can start pumping in the Gulf as early as tomorrow. A federal court isn't buying arguments that Shell Oil is risking an oil spill similar to the one in the Gulf by drilling exploratory wells in Arctic waters this summer. The 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejected several lawsuits challenging federal approval of Shell's plans. Shell wants to drill 3 exploratory wells in the Chukchi Sea and 2 in the Beaufort Sea this summer with a 514-foot drilling ship, the Frontier Discoverer. Opponents argue the Minerals Management Service is allowing Shell vessels to emit tons of pollutants and that the company has fewer resources than BP is using to deal with the Gulf spill. But the court determined that the MMS properly considered potential threats to wildlife and the risk of a disaster. The drilling plan still needs to win appeals of required federal air permits, get an Interior Department blessing, and authorizations on several wildlife issues. Truck maker Navistar has officially unveiled its eStar medium-sized electric delivery truck. The first 4 off the assembly line will be field tested by FedEx in Los Angeles. The truck can go 100 miles on its batteries. They can be charged overnight or removed and replaced. Batteries are also recharged as the truck operates with a regenerative braking system. Perfect, according to the company, for the stop-and-go traffic in cities on delivery routes. Navistar expects to ship 400 of these trucks to delivery companies by the end of the year. That's the Energy Report. We'll see you again on Monday with your latest energy news. For any suggestions or comments about our programming on Clean Skies News, you can email us at contact@cleanskies.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. From all of us here in the Energy News Center, have a great weekend.